Hello guys, welcome back to Car Obsession and welcome to episode 6 of Vlogdown. I've just literally finished filming episode 5 and I thought, you know what, whilst I'm in the mood, let me film episode 6 as well. In this video, I am responding to your feedback. Some of you may know that a few days ago, I basically put out an appeal, I suppose. I think that's the correct word. Basically asking for your feedback in regard to what you like about the channel. So it was a little questionnaire, in fact. So I had questions like, why did you subscribe? What has made you stay? What do you like seeing? What do you dislike seeing? And I think there was about 8 or so questions to kind of get a snapshot of what kind of vibes I was sending out to you guys. I'm really thankful for your feedback. I won't lie. I had I wouldn't say a mini crisis, but it was last weekend, which will mean nothing to you now because this video is going to be going out God knows when. But basically a few days ago, I was looking at my analytics, and this is where I'm a bit of a hypocrite because I gave that wonderful advice. Well, I think it's wonderful, unbiased, I would say that. But I gave out advice on starting your own YouTube channel, or specifically a car YouTube channel. And within that, I basically said, oh, look at your analytics, look at your numbers, but don't become obsessed by them. Yeah, I like to think I'm quite good at giving out advice, but I'm terrible at taking my own advice. I simply am. That is one of quite a few faults of mine. So I was looking at the numbers and I was startled, to be honest, by some of the figures I was looking at. One of the things that struck me quite significantly was the fact that the majority of my audience are non-subscribers, and I can kind of understand why, because a lot of my videos are reviews. Therefore, people will want to watch the video they want. So if they want to know about the latest Fiesta, they'll watch one of my videos and they won't really have much of a need or an incentive to come back. So I fully appreciate I will get a lot of non-subscribers coming through my channel. But the percentage between non-subscribers and subscribers was startling. And there were a few other figures that I wasn't too happy with. And I won't lie, it did get me down because I thought, well, the channel has gone over 10,000 subscribers, but some of the numbers aren't where I want them to be. And yes, I know I said not to become obsessed by the numbers, and I will fully concede I'm a hypocrite here, but I am human. And I put a lot of time and passion into car obsession, so I do take things to heart. But I thought, okay, this is a great opportunity to get feedback from you guys. What could I be doing better? What can I do to accelerate my channel a little bit more? And you guys gave me fantastic feedback. And what I loved, a lot of your feedback was really positive. It really genuinely gave me a lift and kind of got me out of a little bit of a slump. So I'm really grateful for that. I really am. And it's good to see that there were some people that came back to me and said, I can't really think of anything I don't like, which is fantastic. Because I did urge people to be as honest as possible. Because if your feedback isn't honest, then what I do with it won't really give you what you guys want, if that makes sense. So I've got a few comments here that I'm going to go through. I just want feedback, really. I did get a lot of comments, but I can't. It's difficult to respond to everybody because I did get more feedback than I was expecting, because I've done this kind of thing before, and in the past I didn't really get much back, which was a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is. So quite a few of you want to see more owners' cars featured on the channel, and I would love to do more Get Your Car featured, but there are some barriers here. The first of which are, because I now work in the motor trade, I don't have the correct insurance to drive other people's cars. So I don't get third-party cover on other people's cars, so I can only drive my own cars. When I drive cars at work, that's different because I'm on the company's insurance, but that can only be used when I'm actively working, which makes sense. So if I want to drive someone's Seat Ibiza Cupra, for example, at the weekend, I can't do that. Moving forward, I am going to look into temporary insurance. I was actually speaking with one insurance company the other day, trying to get an idea of how I could get around this potential barrier. and there are ways around it which I will look to do in the future. So when I do future get your car featured videos, I will look to get the right insurance cover I can to drive the cars, because it's great to experience them from a passenger seat, but I think you need to drive the car to truly appreciate it, or to give your opinion on it. The other reason why I'm a little bit reluctant to do more Get Your Car Featured videos is because I don't want to come across as being a poor man's Living Life Fast, or a Living Life Fast copy. Now, I know Living Life Fast isn't the only YouTuber that has that format as the bulk of their channel, and Ricky is great at what he does. But I know there's other YouTubers like Officially Gassed, Monkey London. I know that what I'm trying to get at is, I know Living Life Fast doesn't exclusively own that way of shooting videos, and he's not the first person to do it either. But at the same time, I don't want to do too many videos and just come across as I'm just trying to copy someone else, because that's not the vibe I want to give off. But I do want to get more cars on the channel, as it is great to meet up with owners and to see what they've done with the cars. It's good to see their creativity and how they've made their own cars unique. And one thing I want to stress on Get Your Car Featured is I'm not focusing only on modified cars. I like to film interesting cars. It doesn't have to be modified, it just needs to be rare or interesting, or have some kind of amazing backstory to it, that kind of thing. More sports cars. Yes, I would love to have more sports cars on the channel, and I think that's one thing which is hindered my growth, is that I've done a lot of family cars and everyday cars, and not everybody is really interested in them, not unless you're buying the car. I don't think there's many of my viewers that will be showing up really quickly to watch my review on a Nissan Micra. Whereas if it's a Caterham, that's something different. It's more entertaining, it's more interesting, it's more unique. So yes, I would love to get more sports cars on the channel. The problem with that is that I'm still at a point where it's difficult for me to get certain cars from manufacturers, because I'm not the smallest YouTuber, but I'm not that big either in the grand scheme of things. Thankfully, Audi have been quite supportive in regard to giving me some of their sportier models. I'm yet to get an RS model, but hopefully that will come with time. Of course, I've had the Ford Mustang, which was fantastic, and I've had a few Caterham, so I would love to get more sports cars on the channel, but that's a lot easier said than done, not unless I get an owner's car, but of course I'll then have the insurance to deal with as well. More MX-5 content. Yeah, that is definitely something I want to bring you more of. I'd like to film more kind of maintenance or modification videos on what I do to my cars. The reason why I don't film them all is because sometimes it can really slow you down. I'm not the most handy person with a spanner, which I'm sure you've seen on my channel. So I'm always a little bit hesitant in regards to filming those kind of videos, because I don't want to film them as tutorials, because the advice I give out, not all of it may be correct, and I don't want to misadvise you guys, because that could put you guys in potential danger, or your car in danger. I don't want to do that. And when you film those kind of videos, it does slow you down significantly, because you have to make sure you can get the right angle, and sometimes when you're working in quite tight areas, it's difficult to really film what you're doing, because you just can't get the correct angle, or it's a bit too dark. So sometimes there's some videos there's some bits I've done to the car, but I haven't filmed them, because I think, is this really worth it? Can I produce a video which will be not so much informative, but give an idea of what I'm actually doing? Because if you can't see what I'm doing, if it's too dark, or if my hands are in the way, then I think it's pretty pointless. But I do want to do more MX-5 content for sure. So yeah, in fact, I have actually been writing up a script for a buyer's guide, because I thought it might be interesting for some of you guys watching, because I do have people contact me in regard to what to look out for when purchasing a used Mazda MX-5. So that is a video I'm planning. So that may come, that may have already hit the channel by the time this video goes out. More track content. Again, this is something I'd love to bring to you guys, but you do have to appreciate track days aren't cheap, particularly when in more recent times things tend to go wrong. When I took the Fiesta out on track, that performed pretty well, to be honest. I didn't really have any problems. The only problem I did have, it was getting through quite a bit of oil, so it was a bit thirsty. But the Puma engines are kind of known for that, and having spoken to a few other owners, the kind of oil consumption I had didn't seem to be that excessive for what that engine is known for. But I do want to do more track content, but they can be quite pricey, track days, and of course you have to make sure that the vehicle is maintained, so making sure you're doing oil changes, brake fluid changes. I know that's not very expensive, but then you're having to look at brake pads and other components that may need refreshing or replacing, and it can get quite pricey. Good friend of the channel, Pocket Rockets, he's got his Track Type R, and I don't know how much money he's put into that car, but it's a fair bit. I don't really want to go down that rabbit hole, purely because at some point the wife and I, we will look to start a family. Therefore, I'm not really going to have the kind of money to dedicate to a track car. So I do want to do more track content, but track content won't be a long-term thing for the channel. Once the wife and I do start a family, track days will probably be quite a rare occurrence. Then I'll probably sell my track car. Build a project car. That is something I'd like to do, but again, it involves money. Yes, I could buy an old, I almost swore then, I could buy an old banger, but then I don't want to buy a car and it has various problems, which turns it into a money pit. And it's very easy for a project car to turn into a money pit. So if I were to get a project car, I'd want to get something that's half decent, and it's quite a relatively clean example. I don't want to get something that's been ragged or someone's tried to modify it before and done a poor job on it. So I'd love to do a project car. And to be honest with you, I think that is one thing that is holding me back. I can think of two YouTubers that started after I did, had a lower subscriber count than I did, but now they've shot up massively in regard to popularity. Now, I know I've said it in the past not to compare your channel with someone else's. I'm not comparing, it's more of an observation. So you've got Jesse Collingham. I don't know how many subscribers he's on. I think it's about 40,000, might be a bit more, might be a bit less, but he's done really well for himself in a short space of time. And you've got Lee Lockwood, who again, I think he's on 87,000 subscribers. And what do they have in common? The bulk of their channel is project cars. Of course, I know Lee Lockwood films, actually both Jesse and Lee, they film with other people's cars. So again, that helps to improve things. But I think one of the things that has held me back is the lack of a project car. And the reason why I've not really considered it beforehand was mainly money. And also the bulk of my channel has always been reviews. Now, I am starting to move away from reviews a little bit, purely because it's quite taxing to film with the car week in, week out. I think there was a period last year where I had about 7 press cars back to back, and that can be quite grueling, just filming constantly and then editing constantly and falling into a backlog where you're having to play catch up. And the other problem with filming with press cars is that it meant that I was driving my own cars very little, and it seems silly to be paying tax and insurance on a car that is barely getting driven. That's the other reasons why I wanted to move away from reviews a little bit. That's not to say I'm going to stop doing them, because I'm not. So I love reviewing cars, and I love bringing those reviews to you. I think quite a lot of you enjoy my reviews, or I hope so anyway. I don't want to completely stop doing that, but at the start of this year, I kind of said to myself that I really only want to be reviewing 2 cars a month. I'd have 2 cars back to back, have a break, 2 cars back to back, then a break. And I inadvertently, this was purely by accident, I messed up on my scheduling. A few weeks ago, I did have 4 cars back to back, which is not what I wanted. But because of the COVID-19 outbreak, those bookings were cancelled. I wasn't meant to get the Ford Puma. That's been cancelled, well, postponed. I was meant to get the Peugeot 208. That was cancelled, well, postponed. And I was meant to get the Vauxhall Corsa. That was also postponed. Which is kind of a good thing because I didn't want to have that workload. But yes, I do want to do a project car. I just don't know when that will be. Now this was an interesting comment. I only really got it back from one person, but someone came back and said they prefer videos when it's by myself. They don't like it when I film with others, and I found that quite surprising. They just said that they prefer the format where it's just me speaking to camera as opposed to filming with someone else. I did find that surprising. As much as I do want to try and keep as much of my audience happy, I really enjoy filming with others, particularly Pocket Rockets, because we bounce off each other really well. And also Dave from Auto Bears, again, he's a lovely chap. He's got a good sense of humour, and we just click. So filming with Chris and Dave and some of the other YouTubers that I'm friends with, I do enjoy doing it. So I'm afraid that isn't something that's likely to change. I think it's good to film with others because it just helps to give a different dynamic to the channel. Just switch things up a little bit. Someone said they don't like vlogs. Well, this is awkward. I like doing vlogs. Granted, they're not the most engaging videos, but the reason why I like doing vlogs, it gives me It gives me It gives me a chance to not speak openly with you, but connect with you guys more as an audience. And I think it helps you guys to get to know me better, which could be a good thing for you, or it could be a bad thing, because you might get to know more of me and think, oh, actually, I don't like him, he's annoying, or whatever. But I like doing vlogs as it just gives me a chance to connect with you guys. And sometimes this may seem awfully cheesy, but sometimes I do find it therapeutic just to speak and get things off my chest. As you would have seen in my 4th Vlogdown video, I do have anxiety, so sometimes filming these vlogs is helpful because it just helps get things off my chest, really, and just chat about things. And yeah, I do sometimes find it therapeutic, so I do like doing vlogs, so I'm afraid that probably won't change. Someone said do more Ford reviews, and I like Ford as a brand. I've never really properly owned a fast Ford, but I'd love to in the future. I do like Ford as a brand, but I wouldn't want to pigeonhole myself to only filming with one brand, because A, that might look biased, and B, I think from an audience point of view, it's going to make my audience quite narrow. Whereas at the moment, I'm filming pretty much any brand I can get a car off, and I think it gives me a broader audience, and it helps bring more people to the channel. As I said earlier, not all of them are subscribing, but that's because they're coming for a certain review. They get the information they need, and they go away, and they don't feel the need to come back, which is fine. I've watched some videos on YouTube channels. Normally, it's like a tutorial or a kind of educational video, and I'll watch it, and I don't think, okay, I'm going to subscribe, because I've got the information I needed. I don't need to really go back. So I can understand why people have that mentality. Someone said more driving adventures, and that is something I'd love to do. Again, driving adventures, it needs to have a purpose, and sometimes you need money to do them. And also, I work full-time. As I've said in the past, I do car obsession around a full-time job. So really, the only time I get to film is at the weekends, or I'd have to use up annual leave from my job. To be honest, I don't get a lot of annual leave from my job. I get less annual leave in my current job than I did in my last job. So driving adventures are great, but it's just having enough time to film them, and also money, because you need money for fuel, you need to pay for hotels, pay for food on the go, that kind of thing, which these things may seem quite minor, but when you actually, they can build up quite quickly. But I do want to do more driving adventures. Good friend of the channel, Dreams to Drive, he wants to do the North Coast 500 this year. Well, he was aiming to do that, but he might not be able to do now because of coronavirus. And I really wanted to go with him, but I think from memory, the times he proposed weren't really, they weren't compatible with my diary, so to speak. And I turned 30 quite soon. Actually, by the time this video goes out, I might actually have turned 30. My birthday's in May. And I really, 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 really wanted to go to the Nürburgring for my 30th birthday. I wanted to go there, drive a lap, experience the whole Nürburgring thing, and then come home. Obviously, now that isn't going to happen because of COVID-19. But yeah, that would have been, I think that would have been a great thing to film for the channel. But sadly, that isn't likely to happen anytime soon. So hopefully I've responded to your feedback. I'm very grateful for it. And of course, I'm grateful for your support. I will try my best to kind of put as much feedback as I can into practice. Apologies if I've not really gone through your feedback. I did get quite a lot of comments. I've tried to cherry pick the comments that were either unique or that had been suggested by a number of people. So example, the Ford review, that was a unique comment, so was the don't film with others. But things like more track content and more owners' cars, that was a popular theme amongst the feedback. So that's why I wanted to address it. If you're watching this and you have any more feedback, please do get in touch. Obviously, just try and be constructive as possible, and also just be mindful that some of the ideas I may not be able to execute, because there were a few ideas. I can't remember what they were off the top of my head, but some people had these grand ideas, but it's like, well, I need money for those kind of things. Those are things that I simply can't afford to do right now. Can't think of what they were, but just be sensible with your suggestions. Just be wary that my YouTube channel is pretty much run on no budget whatsoever. But yeah, thank you so much for your feedback, guys, and thank you for your positivity as well, because a lot of it was positive and that did genuinely lift me up. So thank you for that. A massive heartfelt thank you to all of you for that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you have found it interesting or enjoyable. If so, be sure to like, subscribe, and to click the bell so you get notified every time I make a video. But until the next time, guys, be sure to keep up the car obsession.